It's time for Verbal Tap, the show that proves fighting is way easier from outside the cage. UFC 173 is in the books. I am your host, Kevin. Of course, with me, the man that was briefly interrupted, Raph Sparza. Raph, how are you doing this evening?
Pretty angry.
Pretty angry about what? Because you've got to tell me what happened, because I was grilling you about what you thought the score was of Dillashaw, and somehow you missed a little part of it. You want to talk about?
Sure, of course. Yeah. Okay, so for those of you who have parents who you love, I love my dad more than anything. He's a great father. You may relate to the fact that when you get a call past 9 p.m. on a weekend or even a weekday, you just assume the worst. You assume, oh shit, have we lost an aunt? Have we lost an uncle? Is something wrong in the family? Is there an emergency? Do I need to know something? My dad calls me yesterday at 9:04. 9:04 is when stuff is happening in the UFC, mainly that of TJ Dillashaw versus Brandon McCaghren. And I get a note from him. And I'm wondering, like, oh my God,
you want to miss?
No. I mean, it's the main event too. Let's be real. So, putting that out there, not happy it's the main event, but I take the call because it's my dad. And it's 9 p.m. I pick up the phone. I'm like, hey, Dad, what's going on? Is everything okay? Son, my computer won't work, and I just, I've tried to do this, and it's just not working. So what do I need? What disc do I need to put? I was like, Dad, I can't do this right now. And then it doesn't matter what you say to him. At this point, everything, since you're on the phone, is on the table. So he's just like, oh, son, did you see that one article I sent you? I think I sent it to you on Wednesday. And I'm like, holy fuck, I'm trying to watch this amazing round, and I can't even process it. So I'm watching it, but I really can't enjoy this amazing fight the very first 5 minutes it's happening because my dad is too busy talking. By the end of it, Kevin recaps it, and this is how you know the salt is in the wound. And even though Kevin doesn't know what the hell is happening, Kevin goes, Raph, was that not the best first round you've ever seen? And I'm like, fuck you, Kevin. I literally, and this is how bad it got, I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, I can't do this right now. I'm going to call you after the fights. And he's like, oh, it's a fight night. All right, just say that. All right, bye.
Well, Raph, I think I speak for all MMA fans around the world when I say, what was your father's specific computer problem? Tell us all before, that way we can sleep tonight. Did you get it solved?
I don't want to talk about that.
Okay, I didn't think, I thought that was going to get met with stunning indifference. No, it was such a fantastic round, and I was grilling you, and you were like, I don't have a score. I was talking to my father. What? And it's just like, hey, nothing. Just one of the greatest upsets in the making of a fighter that couldn't be destroyed is going on right now. Mm-hmm. And we are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about The Ultimate Fighter. We're going to talk about a lot tonight on the podcast. Are you excited? Yep.
I am excited. So why don't we do this? Why don't we get straight to the 1 minute review?
Yeah, Josh Clark is here.
Okay.
Josh Clark is on the podcast to talk about the 1 minute review.
All right. Thanks, Dad.
And later, you're going to bring Brandon McCaghren on just so I can gloat and beat the shit out of him, right? That's how it's going to happen.
We will talk about the results of Over Under Kevin. Don't say that. This is the reason why he doesn't like our voices whenever you sing.
Well, that's one of the reasons, yeah. And it just doesn't sound good, probably?
No, it doesn't. We haven't auto-corrected it yet. To the 1 minute review!
Verbal Tap fans, we have, of course, it's really our version of checks and balances because we can't let Raph run too far and too wide without having a really big person trained in boxing and violent beating there to keep them in check. On the podcast tonight, we have the Hillbilly Heart Throb himself from Tough 19. Don't let the accent fool you. He can hit really hard. Josh Clark on the podcast tonight. Josh, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, guys. What about you?
Doing great. Do you ever find people think maybe you're nicer than you are just because of the Kentucky accent?
I think so. I get a lot of, man, I can't believe you fight and stuff like that. Just, because I am a quiet guy. And they just can't believe that, I'm willing to get in there and, throw the hands and let everything go. So yeah, I do get it quite a bit.
Does it help
6'4".
when you say please and thank you as you're punching somebody in the face?
He does.
I think
that.
so. You know, I makes me not feel so guilty about it. So.
It's that southern hospitality of yours. So Josh, here's the thing. There may or may not be an impression of you in the next few seconds during this 1 minute review. Let's just remember that I also lived in Kentucky for a while.
Right.
So what does that mean? That he shouldn't hit you if he
Yeah,
feels
of course
the
not,
inclination?
because
I don't think that's what it means.
Kevin, are you a Kentucky colonel?
No, I'm not.
I am. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, here's the thing also, Josh. You, in your spare time, I thought they were talking in hyperbole. You are an IMD boy. You disable landmines.
Yeah, I was. So, you know, before I come on the show, you know, I was working for the federal government. And then, I disabled landmines, working 105 rounds. It was basically just for the Army, basically. And I don't know. I mean, that's really all I could say. You know, it wasn't nothing.
Sure.
Well,
not
I guess
as bad as it sounds, but I mean,
here's
it does
what
sound
I'm
pretty
saying.
cool.
It doesn't sound as bad as it sounds.
It sounds
It
nuts,
sounds as
but-
exactly as bad as it sounds.
I was going to say he obviously, if he deals with landmines, has the patience to maybe endure the 1 minute review more so than other fighters.
Potentially.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. I love that. That's okay. Raph, are you ready for the 1 minute review?
I am completely ready for it. Let's do it.
Josh, are you ready to hear this business?
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
This is the 1 minute review of The Ultimate Fighter. Brace yourselves, because here we go.
Previously on The Ultimate Fighter, a black guy who vaguely looks like Kanye West named Corey Anderson made it into the house and became the #1 pick. Team Penn started the competition with 2 straight wins until Tim Williams ruined Christmas and gassed out. Now, Corey Anderson takes on the Hillbilly Heart Throb Josh Clark, who didn't tell his wife he was auditioning to get on the show. The Ultimate Fighter. Josh Clark thinks this is a very bad fight for Corey Anderson. You know, he's a wrestler, and I think Corey thinks he can stand with me. That's just not going to happen. Later, BJ says he hates to use Tim's loss to make a point, but does so anyway. This is a good chance to look at the training and start to relax more, bros. Too much training. Relax, bros. BJ then uses the metaphor of a recipe to help the fighters understand what he's saying. You know, everyone's recipe is going to be like a little different. For example, I have this bomb recipe for brownies. Some people say 2 cups of sugar for every brownie, but I'm like, nah, bro, you gotta make it 3. BJ then makes an impassioned speech to stop all of this extra training practice back at the house. So let's take tonight off, then nap for 20 minutes in the morning, then skip tomorrow night and come back strong for Monday. Then the Irish blokes carve pumpkins as members of Team Penn get to fulfill every one of their slutty French maid and nurse urges by putting on French maid and nurse costumes themselves. Yep, you heard that right. Mike King then relieves a little bit about to himself when he tells us that dressing up like a woman is kind of his signature. Oh, and that Halloween is the one time a year he doesn't get judged for doing so. Mike King? More like Mike Queen. Boom. Roasted. A few minutes later, Mike is the most excited fighter this side of Fallon Fox to find out that his nurse's costume comes complete with a man thong. And Anton is really uncomfortable with grown men dressing up like women. When they get home, even Team Edgar has to admit, hey, that's a nice pumpkin. Matt Van Buren wastes no time to rain on everyone's parade as he sees Team Penn as nothing but skipped practice and eaten candy. Oh, snap. Guess who showed up at the front door? It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Edgars. And Kev, ask me which Ninja Turtle Frankie dressed up as.
Which Ninja Turtle did
Only
Frankie
the most
dress up as?
motherfucking badass of all the turtles, Raphael. Just saying. Okay. But hey, just because Team Blue took 3 days off doesn't mean Team Edgar can't find a way to waste their time as well, as they proceed to get lost during a hike that literally goes nowhere, and Diego doesn't understand what the hell is going on. It was supposed to be a day off, but like, you know, we climbed a mountain, yo, and like, we were like supposed to relax and stuff, but it was like, oops, man, hiking is crazy, yo. Meanwhile, back at Team Penn, Josh Clark has a plan for Corey. Yeah, I'm just gonna hit him real hard and, you know, just like knock him out, I guess, if That's what you want me to do. Josh then tells us he became an MMA fighter by winning the lotto. Seriously, he won a free membership to a premier MMA gym that only cost him a few thousand beatings. Josh also mentions how he ultimately chose MMA over boxing. BJ sees some holes in Josh's game and says that some of it is mental. I see others getting the better of him, and I'm like, nah, bro, you can do better. And Coleman has some great advice for Clark after he got caught with a triangle in training. Well, don't fucking get caught in that position. Great advice, Coleman. Josh says he gets some great wrestling into his game, he'll be a hell of a fighter. Hashtag foreshadowing. Back from commercial. Uh-oh, did someone talk shit about wrestling? Don't they know that's the first rule of Fight Club? Don't talk shit about wrestling? Roger Zapata can't help himself and boils wrestling down to the following simple method of single to double, and that's it. Corey Anderson takes such offense to the accusation, his voice goes up another octave and renders him unable to make words. You know, man, how many national qualifiers? I don't smoke. I'm a two-time. I don't wrestling and couldn't even be on. You know, you looking at me like I'm crazy. And Zapata says he knows wrestling is simple because of all the D1 wrestlers he knows are weak. So there you have it. Science. Not that Corey makes a better argument. Corey tells us, though, he doesn't want to just be another cast member. He wants to win the whole thing. At the weigh-ins, Corey talks about how he likes and respects Josh. People are like, you know, Josh is like, I like him because, you know, even if I really did, he's in there, people, and I like, you know, come back, you know. But Corey is so confident he's going to win, he can't even sleep. Talk tells him to get some sleep, and this is his response, verbatim. Man, I'm going to practice, but don't worry about me. As long as you get some sleep, because I'm going to figure out something. You know what I mean, I guess. Round 1, Dana's back. All right, gentlemen, 2 rounds. Fucking blah, blah, blah. Fuck you guys. Drink Nas. Josh comes out swinging. But Corey finds his timing, and guess what? Uses wrestling to take down Josh. Eat that, Zapata. On the sidelines, Frankie Edgar is yelling out Twister instructions. Right on blue. Left hand green. Corey gets Josh to half guard and proceeds to make this into a wrestling match. BJ decides it's no longer time to chillax, bros, as he's in full yell coaching mode. Feet on the hips. Get your knee in. No more relaxing, bro. In the corner, BJ assures Josh he did all of the damage while Coleman informs him he needs to win this round. So which is it, guys? Round 2, Josh comes out kicking, but Corey comes out wrestling, and Dana isn't happy with Josh. This guy has fucking 0 takedown defense. Everybody knows you can get a fucking armbar from there. Noted jiu-jitsu black belt Dana White, everybody. And we're back in Josh's guard for about a minute and a half. The ref stands him up, and the bald father is happy. Fucking good job, ref. And that's pretty much the fight. Corey gets the hooks in, but can't finish the Hillbilly Heart Throb. And the coaches have differing opinions on what happened. BJ, I think that Josh did a good job in the first round. Frankie, yeah, not so much. Dana then announces the winner. And the winner of this fucking fight is wrestling. So fuck you, Zapata. And Corey's not pleased with his performance. Yeah, I think I did pretty good, but I could have done better. You know, I'm just here to win the whole thing. I got to do what I got to do to win the Ultimate Fighter. And Frankie announces the next fight. Ian, let's climb this fucking mountain. Stevens versus Roger. I hate wrestling Zapata. Zapata does some facial tics to try and scare Stevens, and it looks more like he's got some sort of mild Tourette syndrome. Next time on The Ultimate Fighter, Matt Hughes shows up because he has nothing better to do. And Ian Stevens takes on Roger Zapata. And then the most surprising something that's ever happened on The Ultimate Fighter happens, prompting Dana to be the voice of reason. Okay, everyone, fight day's canceled. Everyone go back to your fucking locker rooms. Next time on The Ultimate Fighter.
Raph Esparza. Woo! Josh, does that sound about right? Does that sound exactly how you saw it?
That was awesome, yes. Yeah, I believe that's how it went. Just like that.
Did we miss any big parts? Raph's pretty thorough.
No, I even liked the you got it BJ's metaphor in about too much salt. Yeah, that was good.
Raph,
I was just
quick,
like, yes.
Raph, quick production note. That was 1 minute 12 seconds.
Kevin, you need to get a better watch. I know. You find it offensive when it's not 1 minute. Flat.
Okay. I mean, I hate to disagree with you. I'm just saying I'm the official timekeeper.
Well,
it was late.
Official wrong timekeeper, whatever. Anyway, Josh, let's ask you about this. When BJ is giving you a metaphor about salt in a recipe, what's going through your head?
Man, maybe he's had one too many brownies. I'm not real for sure. I mean, I wasn't for sure where he's going with it, so.
That's kind of what it looked like you were thinking. Just so you know, you've been good about being transparent since you entered the house. But you kind of look like you're just like, are we still talking about fighting? Is this a metaphor? I'm confused.
Right, and I mean, but I love BJ. You know, he was an awesome dude, and you know, he was so laid back, as you can see, and I mean,
No.
you know, when the cameras were off of him, even when the cameras weren't on him, man, he was always the same person, just cool and relaxed, and you know, treated everybody the same. So he's definitely a good dude, good coach.
What was the best thing that you pulled in your time away with BJ on the show?
What's that? That was the best. What?
Like, what was the most memorable either coaching advice or moment that you had with BJ?
Probably moment, it would be when we were at the Harley shop. You know, whenever all the guys were, you know, picking out what motorcycles they wanted, we kind of dressed BJ up there. I'm sure y'all may see it on the show, hopefully. But, you know, man, I just got so tickled. We put this helmet on him, this big leather jacket, these big chaps. And, you know, we begged him to get on the motorcycle. He finally got on it. I know they're going to show it, but it was pretty hilarious. And he couldn't do nothing but laugh. I bet he laughed for 30 minutes straight. So, you know, he had me I was crying because he was laughing so hard. It was definitely probably the highlight of being on the show for me. So.
That'll work. A little dressing up scene. Now, tell us what happened, because I want to go back to the first episode of the show where we find out you didn't really tell anyone you were going. You just kind of went to the Ultimate Fighter. Can you talk us through what happened there?
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, I did tell everybody I was going. What I think maybe I got it misunderstood. I didn't tell my wife that I was going to lose my job. So, because before I left to go on the show, you know, I asked him, I was like, look, this is the deal. I need to be off for 6 weeks. Can I leave without pay? He basically told me, no, you leave, you're getting fired. So I never did tell her that, you know, they told me I was going to get fired. Because, I mean, she was going to tell me to go anyways. I just didn't want to put that extra added stress on her. But, you know, the cool thing is, I mean, that's the good thing about working for the federal government. You can't get fired. Like, I came back, I still had a job. So at 6 weeks,
awesome.
They had me down as AWOL. You know, because I'm working basically for a military company, you know, the Army Depot. So they had me down as AWOL. And still
you had to
a
spend
job.
time with Dana White, so that is kind of like going AWOL.
Yeah, like prison.
That would also,
that's what we was in, prison.
That would be such a cool thing to put on your bio. Once declared AWOL by the federal government. People would be like, fuck, this guy's crazy.
I mean, Josh, the thing that was the most surprising to us is you definitely brought up that fact about like, yeah, I didn't tell my wife about this. So what was the wife's reaction to that?
Well, she didn't really have her, like I told her when I got back, I was like, babe, I think I might not have a job when I go back in Tuesday. And she was just like, well, let's move. You know, and that was her reaction. And I went in and I checked out, you know, checked it out at work. Of course, they was like, yeah, you got a job. And we ended up moving anyway. So, you know, we're in Vegas. But, yeah, her reaction, you know, her next reaction was basically, well, let's move, you know. There's our chance. There's our excuse to get out of here. So
that's a great wife, A.
Oh, man, she's so supportive.
And B, I still would love to have on tape her reaction to you saying that on TV.
Yeah, I feel like he's kind of flinching. It's like, Josh, tell us what happened. Did she punch you? Was she like, why would you say that?
Cough twice if she's looking at you right now.
Yeah, just don't say anything if she's
We'll get you out of it, we promise.
No, she was actually pretty cool, you know, because, I mean, it has been so long since the show was, you know, taped and then finally before it aired that I'd already been back to work. And actually, I was already moved by the time the show aired. I was actually living in Vegas. So
awesome.
Because yeah, you know, she was cool about it.
Is that now future fighters, and even me as a casual viewer of the show, my fiance looks at me and just goes, "Oh snap! You better never do that." I was like, "I'm never fighting, so we're good." Not just disappearing randomly and announcing that. But I think you've set a new precedent for anybody who comes on the show. Maybe don't do that.
Right, maybe.
Maybe.
So.
That's when you turn on the Kentucky accent. Though I would like this to be noted. This is the first time at 15 minutes into the podcast, Raph and I have ever coached a 6'4", 205-pound fighter on possible defense mechanisms with their wives or fiancés. That's a first for us.
Yeah.
So I feel like he'll hang out. Josh, tell us what your perception of the fight was. Popping forward to this last episode, just tell us. We get to hear a little bit of what you think, but we don't get to hear the whole breakdown.
Yeah, honestly, I thought that if Corey took me down, I would be able to submit him. Because I had all these years of grappling. I've been training for 8 years, but with his wrestling, man, he had such heavy hips that when he was on top of him, even when he's in half guard, I was having trouble. Just shrimping away and stuff because his hips were so heavy. And then he stuck to his game plan. His game plan was to, he says he's going to stand with me. I know he wasn't going to stand with me, and he come out, we exchanged a couple punches before he started looking for the takedown. And he just basically wrestled me, how I feel. He didn't do a lot of damage on the ground. And, of course, standing, I don't think he landed any strikes, but, he stuck to his game plan and he came out with victory, and it was a good win for him.
When you're in the moment, and I'm always curious because I've done some jiu-jitsu tournaments and I'm familiar with what it feels like to have a wrestler really do that sort of clinch down where they're hard to get it. What's it like in the MMA world? Because there are the strikes options. There's a little bit, it's just harder submission-wise from that game with the gloves on. Talk us through how you're feeling. At the end of round 1, do you think you really have to do something in round 2, or did you think it was still even?
I didn't realize, because I guess I was so caught up in the fight, I didn't realize how close the first round was. The judges, it was so close. I don't remember what the final score was, but I just remember at the end, I was like, man, that was a close fight. So, I knew he took me down, but I knew I landed some strikes, and I was going for submissions, that's the thing is that when he took me down, I was going for things on the ground. So I wasn't for sure how close it was, but but I guess I got up to my feet and he took me down again. So then he scores another point. Now he's controlling the fight again. And I think I said this on the show and they never did, in the confessions, but, I think as far as being an Ultimate Fighter, you only get to fight 2 rounds. I think they need to do it Pride. So if a fighter's laying on top of you, you need to say, here's your warning. Then next time, give them a card and they get a point taken away. And it makes guys have to move more and just be more entertaining and active, because a lot of the guys who win the show are wrestlers, then they get cut from the UFC. Not all the time. I'm not saying Corey's going to get cut. Corey's an awesome fighter, I think. But it happens.
We're with you, especially with the Pride rules. And here's the thing, the UFC at any given time, 1 out of every 3 UFC decisions are going to tend to favor takedowns as a much more significant move than they are, especially, you're talking to 2 jiu-jitsu fighters that are who the fuck cares if you get taken down? We get it, but it's just what's next? Yeah. It's always weird for us to see them reward those decisions just a little bit more. And I'm just always curious because, you said the adrenaline's pumping, the fight logic starts to become a little bit harder to predict because that's the nature of fighting. I'm just curious in that second round, what was, as fellow submission fighters, what was the craziest submission that flashed through your mind as you were trying to think of Hail Mary attempts?
The craziest would probably, I don't know if it was the first or second, but what I remember to the fight would be the calf cutter, because I went for the heel hook and he started to pull out, and I was like, man, there's the calf cutter, but I was just, I was a split second too late. I was a split second too late on everything I was doing out there, just because my timing was off, and I just had been back in MMA only for a couple months before I ever went on to the show. I had maybe a couple hours back on the mat. All I done was concentrate on keeping the fight standing, and, and working takedown defense against the cage, which didn't help me, obviously, in that fight. But, so everything was a split second off, and, the calf cutter was probably the craziest submission that
every time I know myself and Kevin saw you attacking the leg and almost going for what seemed like knee bars at a couple times, I know we jumped up a little bit because we're like, yes.
Yeah, they were, I don't know how close they were, man. A couple times, it wasn't late. It was later on in the round, I believe, that I was actually, because he was sitting so heavy that I was actually man, you know what? I got to swing my other leg around because he's in half guard sitting on my right leg, so I need to get my left leg up over his head. It was just like, I don't know, man. It was just, things were starting to come back to me. As for like, while I was up there fighting on the ground, things were starting to come back. Like, man, this submission's here. You know, like, because they've been so long. That's the thing. Like, that's what people don't understand. I forgot so much in the past year and a half. That's just now starting to come back to me. Ass mount and all that, man. It's, I don't know.
It's an interesting road because and this is what I think is fun about you. You are on our sort of traditional, this is the type of guy that needs to be in the Ultimate Fighter house, an up-and-comer that seems to get better with each fight. Do you feel like it was a big learning experience and your growth progression? You've grown a lot as a fighter because you've been doing it since you were 21, as we aforementioned the lottery gym. How much do you feel like you've grown as a fighter just in the past Ultimate Fighter experience?
You know, it's a good question because, you know, I'd grown and then I'd peaked out. I'd stopped, you know. And this show, even though I lost, it made me grow again. It was like, man, you know, just being around these top guys, you know, some of the top up-and-coming 185, 205s in the world, seeing how they train and, you know, just getting back in that grind. It's like, man, like, if I'm going to do this, like, I've got to get to where, you know, top-level training is. So I don't know if it necessarily made me grow. I mean, I guess you could say it made me grow, but it just changed my perspective, like, in my mind and stuff. You know, it's like, man, I've got what it takes. I know I do. You know, it's just I've been out for so long that coming back, you know, once I come back home, and I was just so disappointed. I was like, you know what? I've got to do something now, or my career is over. You know, so I needed to just change my environment. You know, I guess that was the biggest thing that shows. Like, you know, I got to change my environment and get around like the best in the world.
And what change have you made to do that?
Well, now I'm living here in Vegas. So I basically, like I said, I had a job back home. When I came back, I quit my job. I sold everything I had, all my furniture, and I've got a one-bedroom apartment me and my wife do right here in Vegas. And I'm training at Syndicate MMA full-time. She's working, supporting me. And, you know, I'm just waiting to fight again, man, to prove myself that I do belong, you know.
There you go.
I have to ask this because I thought this was such an interesting thing that you put on your blog. You were talking a little bit about, I guess, the differences between MMA and being billed as a boxer. For you, what was being billed as a boxer in terms of what did that mean to you? And also, like, what were the problems with being billed as a boxer in that way?
What do you mean as far as being billed as a boxer? Like,
well, in terms of saying, like, the problems that you faced in your boxing career, like, at what point did you start making the transition over to MMA?
Oh, I got you. It was probably, let's see, I'm trying to think. My last fight against, when I fought Charles Martin back in last June. Mm-hmm. So June, and I made the show in October, or September, so June, July, August. So 3 months. Within 3 months after that fight, I came back home, you know, because I beat some of the top guys, up and coming boxers, and, you know, I felt like I was constantly lied to because they just bring me in to lose, and I'd beat them, and they'd be like, oh, the winner, got a draw, you know, another draw, 4 fights, you know, 1 win, 1 knockout, 1 loss, and 2 draws. And so when I came back home, man, from California, I was just so aggravated, so, you know, mad at myself that I was just like, man, I've got to do something. And, you know, I started rolling and, you know, I come back to the gym. My coach stayed out in California, and I started rolling while, you know, doing jiu-jitsu since he wasn't there, and I just started missing it. And I started making the transition slowly, man, like within 2 or 3 months, you know, last June. So,
now,
I mean, I guess that's the answer you're looking for.
I appreciate it. No, that's great, because I know that you were talking about a little bit of some of how that was playing a role. And I guess the other thing that you touched on in your blog that I thought that was interesting is you talked about the editing of the second round of your fight.
And I hate to always talk about it and why, you know, like I said it in the blog, and I'm like, man, that's told my wife. I was like, that's all I want to talk about it, because I don't want to sit here and cry and moan about it. But yeah, like,
sure.
So you see in the second round, you see when I come out and I throw the kick early in the round, that don't happen, you know. And then the second kick that you see that I throw when he checks, that happens in the last minute. So what they done was I threw the kick, the first kick you see, I threw it in like the last minute of the fight. And then I circled again, and I didn't set the kick up. I just threw another kick to the leg, immediately following the first kick, and that's why he checked it. That's how he got my back, is because I went down, and then he started pounding me, and then I started scrambling. All I could think about was, like, this dude's not going to finish me. He's not getting a bonus.
Yeah.
So they took, and I just felt, like I said in the blog, they took all that ground and pound footage and just spread it throughout the fight. But it is what it is, and I'm just trying to just put that behind me and just move forward.
Sure. And I mean, for us as avid Ultimate Fighter fans, we always kind of pay attention to the editing. I'm a huge video editing guy. So when I'm watching it, I look and I go, that doesn't look about right. That editing looks a little strange and suspect. So we always want to get the best picture of what happens, because the thing is, you can show whatever you want on TV, but the two guys in that octagon know more than anybody else what's happening.
Exactly. Plus, I blogged about it, wrote it down when I got home that night. So I went back to my journal. I was like, hold up, that didn't happen right there. I could see, and it's the last I talked about it, but you can see when I throw the leg kick they check that it speeds up real fast, and I go down extremely quick.
I just like the idea that the Hillbilly Heart Throb was like, I've got to record my journal what happened tonight. I've got to get to it immediately.
Exactly.
Real quick, what are the biggest differences between living in Kentucky versus living in Las Vegas? Top three. Can't say hookers, because obviously everyone else's response when they move to Vegas.
Well, since it's been 110 today, the heat, and then
Sure.
I feel like I'm on a permanent vacation, man. Like I constantly, like, I walk outside, see palm trees. I'm like, dude, like, am I really living here? So constantly feel like I'm on a permanent vacation, and then I guess just training full time now. 2 or 3 times a day, 6 days a week. So it's got to be the top 3 biggest changes from Kentucky to here.
Any food problems, or it's been okay?
No food problems, man. I mean, any restaurants you want, it's all top of the line out here. I just try to eat clean. I'm actually thinking about going down to 85, so we'll see.
Ooh, got to stay away from the buffets.
I was about to say,
checkmate.
I love that you're like, they have all these healthy options there. And I'm like, dude, nobody thinks about healthy options when they go to Vegas and aren't a fighter.
Yeah, Planet Hollywood and that prime rib buffet. Look, the Hillbilly Heart Throb, Josh Clark MMA, at Josh Clark MMA on Twitter. And you have some really cool sponsors. You were saying Sports Food Inc. And what does Sports Food Inc. do? Do they do like the meals thing?
No, actually, they've been supplying me with like electrolytes. So they have these like little things that go under your tongue, and so especially like when you're cutting weight and you can't drink water, just put these under your tongue and they dissolve and put all the electrolytes back in your body. So
that's
very
awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I'm writing down that one.
Are we missing other sponsors that you want to shout out?
Yeah, I just picked up Boost 365 energy drink, the Iron Jaw mouth guard, and Zion X. I think that's about it.
Zion
for right now, yeah. So just making sure. Hope I didn't miss anybody.
And it's Agile mouthguard?
No, Iron Jaw. It's the accent,
Iron
man.
Jaw. Perfect.
Iron Jaw.
Yeah. Iron Jaw. Yeah, your accent does make it a little.
Hey, look. So I'm out here, right? And everybody, there's foreigners that live out here. A lot of Europeans and stuff. So they all either think I'm from Australia or I'm from Bulgaria. So I love it. I love it. It's perfect for me, especially when they think I'm from Australia.
That's awesome.
Oh man! As an accent aficionado, I really want to meet the people who think you're from Australia.
I give you.
Really
they were Brazilians. A lot of them. The people who think I'm from Australia are usually Brazilians. So.
They should watch some more Civil War movies.
Kev, if you ever go to Fight Week out for the UFC, half of Brazil ends up in Vegas during these fight weeks. I'm always
Awesome.
astounded how many Brazilians were there for Anderson Silva fights, and you're like, oh man, I remember he's fighting Chris Weidman. I was like, oh, Chris should have home field advantage. Oh no, he does not. Nope, more Brazilians here than normal. So I guess
7
it
minutes.
starts to come to make sense now. Now that you mentioned that, Josh.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I like it. I'm not going to complain. So, I'll take it.
Josh, we really appreciate you coming on the podcast tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, at Josh Clark MMA, follow him, harass him for any Kentucky versus Vegas questions you might have, and we'll continue to we're looking forward to your commentary as the season goes on.
All right. And I appreciate you guys having me, man. Y'all are awesome. So.
You're the man. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Clark.
All right, you guys. So we did Over Kevin. Or Over Under Kevin? Which one is it? I don't remember.
I just remember signing a good night note to Brandon and putting it on the nightstand and walking out the door. That's all I remember about the game.
What was your goodbye note that you wrote to him?
It said, I'm going to beat you at the... Why did you have to ask me what the fuck it said, Raph? You know I didn't think that far through with the metaphor. It said, good night, I'm going to beat you. I don't know what it said.
The worst improv comic actor.
I say yes and yell. That's
Kevin
how
doesn't
I
say yes and. He says, yes what? Wait, what did I do? Okay. So for those of you who are tired of this introduction, last week we had our good friend Brandon McCaghren on the show. So Brandon, you're back here right now, right? You've been hiding on this conversation, yes?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. A, how have you been? And B, why do you hate Kevin so much?
First of all, I've been fantastic. I love life and everybody in it, and I love you especially, and I even love Kev. So that answers follow-up B.
I
love Kev.
That's not.
I love the way he says life.
No,
that's amazing.
But
I'm the only person you've ever had on the show that can put extra syllables into the word life.
You say it like Harry Connick Jr. It's amazing.
Okay, but Brandon, the thing is, I have to stop you here because you, even in text message form, don't stop making fun of Kevin to me.
He's pretty lippy on Twitter too. If
that's
memory
my
serves.
My job officially on this podcast, not to co-host, to make fun of Kevin. And even I look at the text and go, man, he is relentless, but I like it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you give Kevin shit, so you obviously feel a certain way. I have a very important thing to before we go into the results of Over Under Kevin. Guys, there was one of our viewers, and I'll find the exact tweet that he sent at us, but he told me a following story, and I want to get what you guys thought of it. Basically, he was at a party, and his ride was leaving before the main event. Your thoughts?
Fucking crushing. Find a different ride. What do you mean?
Find a different ride.
walking.
Okay.
Yeah. Deal with it like a man would and watch the fight.
Hope it wasn't leg day.
I just feel so bad because one of our listeners, Troy Little, basically said my brother / driver made me leave. Missed all the good stuff / shit. Said at least you guys were walking me through it. Yeah. Then I'm going to live through you guys. Okay, go for it, Kev.
Here's what you do, Troy. You find out whatever fucking sport your brother loves. And then right as the climactic moment of that happens, you pull the cord on the TV and reset the cable box and tell him to go fuck himself. And you go down the street to a restaurant. That's how you get revenge.
That's good. Brandon, do you have something for this?
I think mine was going to just involve a baseball bat to his legs, but
Oh my God.
it wasn't. It was a little.
Is that part of the 10th
violent.
Planet system, or is that just a McCaghren thing?
Yeah, that's actually just what we call an armbar.
It's just an aggressive baseball bat strike. It can be confusing.
Baseball bat
but,
to the legs.
yeah.
We tried to make it extra complicated.
I mean, to be fair, sometimes when I see a 10th Planet name and I see like the electric chair, I'm like, oh, okay. That makes sense because I get it now. But if I ever see baseball
Or slugger to the
to
femur.
the leg, slugger to the
Whatever they
femur.
call it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Let's write that down.
I
We
will
should have an
write that down.
episode
That's not-
dedicated just to fake 10th planet names and see if
That-
people can tell the difference.
The camera
That's a
stand.
good-
People
that's a
go like,
good
what the
show
fuck is
segment.
that?
That's a good segment. 10th planet or it ain't.
Oh, yeah.
You just
Or it
say
ain't.
something ridiculous, and then Kev has to guess whether or not it's something out of the 10th planet vernacular.
I'm 0 for 38 with this UFC game. I can't imagine that's going to go great either.
The three-headed
The pencil
panda.
sharpener. Oh, okay.
Well, gentlemen, I'm so glad that you're cordial with one another because I'm going to make you guys hate each other again. I do have the results in my hand. I'm going to start with you, Kevin. Do you think you won this bout?
I think I might have won, but regardless, I feel like I won because I predicted TJ Dillashaw. So if you put $20 on all the bets I made versus the bets Brandon made, you'd be up $584.
That's not legally accurate.
No, that's not even. I didn't do the math. I'm just ballparking it.
Just made a figure
just
up.
made
Okay,
that
Brandon, in response to all of that, do you feel that you won this, and do you feel that Kevin is talking out of his ass right now?
Well, I got a little confused when he started using numbers. But yeah, I did think I won until that, but now I'm not. Now I don't know. But I'm
Now
pretty
you're
sure
not so
I won because I played. So
Oh.
Grudging.
I wish that was
Touche.
I wish that was a way more insulting moment, but it actually just means you participated, and we need to give you a ribbon as participant. But hey guys, Kev, here's the good news for you. I have such great news for you.
Shut up. You always do this. And it never...
What the fuck, Kevin? I'm not doing anything.
I know I predicted Jingling was going to win.
You did.
Cecilia.
You picked Jigglypuff to win.
Holdsworth.
Mm-hmm.
Chisay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I picked Klaus. Mizugaki.
that one
Let's-
needs to
let's
get
stop
thrown out.
Dillashaw.
Ralph needs to get thrown out.
Okay. Kev, let's stop right here, okay?
Okay.
This is the good news for you, and this is truly amazing to your credit.
Yeah.
You got 50% right.
Feels good.
Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
Like, Brandon, for how bad Kevin is at this, especially the last time when he only got like 33%, is this not a huge improvement?
Yeah, I'm really proud of him. Especially like for somebody who knows nothing about the sport, I feel like that's really good.
Twist
It
the
is
knife.
true.
Just
It is
twist
true.
the knife.
Here's the other news, though. Brandon also got 50%.
Whew. So
Hold
you're
on.
saying it's a tie.
No, actually, he did get 50%, but plus 8 more percent to that 50, because Brandon ended up with 58% picks right. That is 7 out of 12. To Kevin, 6 out of 12, making Brandon McCaghren the winner of this week's Over Under Kevin.
Oh my gosh.
This
I
one's
just want
under
to thank
review.
all the little people that put me here. I am
Brandon-
amazing and good.
Brandon, let's do a post-win conference right here. Brandon, I'm standing here with the winner of this bout. Brandon, talk me through this. What was the hardest part about winning this match against Kevin?
Well, the hardest part really was just the promotion leading up to the match. It's really me and Kev, we're friends. We've been training together a long time. We were just trying to sell the fight, you know.
Boo, boo, friendship.
Well, look,
Shit,
it's true.
boo.
And I feel like I could have put him away quicker, but I had some injuries coming in. I had a cracked skull. But you know, I'm not trying to make excuses. He's a great picker. But, all propers to Kevin.
Clearly not Brandon McCaghren, everybody. Okay, Kevin, I'm here with the loser, the multiple-time loser, a person with a non-winning
go
record.
Fuck yourself.
I just gotta
You
ask
can go
Kev,
fuck yourself.
It
He
looked
can
like
go
you were
fuck
in
himself.
trouble early on in this fight, and I gotta ask you, at what point did you know you were absolutely gonna lose this?
I was pretty sure at the Ellenberger disaster when both Ellenberger and Cormier just completely opposited what I was hoping could happen. Though I stand by TJ Dillashaw. Let's all remember who was where when the old Kevmeister predicted the greatest upset in UFC history.
Well,
And that's
Kevin,
probably not what it was, but
you have two options.
that was
You have
really
two
the
options,
greatest
Kevin. You have a 50% chance of getting it right, which you're consistent at.
yeah,
You mostly flip a
very
coin,
consistent.
and you could pick the same outcome.
My favorite pick that I don't think I'm ever going to get enough credit for was choosing Mizugaki, and my logic was because Rivera's tattoos framed his face too well. I still feel great about that choice.
So let's talk about this, Kev. I do want to ask you. You did pick TJ, and that was a huge upset. I don't think it was founded on any kind of real analysis. Talk us through how you picked him, and why was it that you were so excited to pick him?
So I love TJ Dillashaw, and I thought there was a chance Barao would get complacent. He's been a little, just his version is complacent. Thought there was a chance Dillashaw might shine his best night, and as Joe Rogan pointed out no less than 348 times on the show, this was the best TJ Dillashaw we've ever seen.
I don't think you're using enough throat muscle to communicate that. You
He
need
just
to
would
have...
not shut the fuck up about how capable TJ Dillashaw was, and that this is what he's capable of. It's like, we get it, Joe. We get it. We hear you, buddy. You look great
He's
in
like,
black.
He's a Make-A-Wish kid who lived, and Joe was really happy to get through.
Yeah, it was like TJ Dillashaw is not exactly Swiss meat. Like, we knew he was going to be competent, Joe. I know he and Joe know each other, so that's why.
I will say this, Kev. This is why this is entertaining to me. It's when the people who put on the fights, who said, like, the whole time going up to the fight, this guy, he's a contender. When they actually get surprised, like, oh shit, all that stuff we said was
he's
right.
a contender. Can you believe it? Yeah, I agree. Cool
now,
match.
Brandon, when you were watching Barao, when did you know something was up with him?
You kind of figured it out early on. He looked slow compared to Dillashaw. I know Dillashaw's footwork had him really off balance the whole fight, and then the pace that Dillashaw kept was just incredible. Like he was still there at the same pace in the fifth round, I felt like. But yeah, I mean, you knew pretty early on, Dillashaw hit him with a big shot pretty early and, tried to put him away. And I don't know how much of an effect that had on Barao throughout the rest of the fight, but it just never looked like he recovered all the way from that initial.
I want to put this to both of you guys. I think you're leading kind of where I want to go, which is one of our viewers or our responders on Twitter, Anthony Armour, which, okay, cool Twitter name. He says that he thinks Barao's weight cut made him look slow. So what do you guys think about that? Did the weight cut have something to do with the way that he was fighting here?
I don't think the weight cut made him look slow. I think TJ Dillashaw made him look slow.
I'd agree. It looked like two fighters fighting at a different pace. Every time Barao made big advances, Dillashaw was able to just kind of duck out of it. And you know what's huge for me? When a fighter doesn't have his hands covering his face and is still able to dodge things, that's demoralizing. And Dillashaw
he cut his angles so well. He changed his stances, and he kept throwing that lead uppercut. Was great. That was a great strategy. It was coming right up through Barao's defenses. It was beautiful. It was a great strategy by Ludwig, man.
Kev, I'm going to put this over to you because this was brought up a lot, and I don't know what you guys thought about it, but I might have an opinion. Uriah Faber, happy or not happy for TJ?
Happy. Advocated for him to get the spot. Hasn't been able to get over the Barao hill. He's happy.
Same question over to you, Brandon.
Yeah, for sure. He's happy. They're teammates. They train together every day. That's a bond and a brotherhood that people who don't train can't possibly understand. So for sure, 100%, he's happy for him.
But guys, did you see the photo of Uriah in the cage when everybody's super happy and has their hand around TJ and he's kind of frowning? I'm pretty sure that means
that's just the way his face
jealous.
Looks.
Okay. Okay, that's one.
You're going TMZ.
I was so astounded because you could see Uriah jump up in those reaction shots, and he was legitimately happy for him. And I love that people thought that maybe once he got into the cage, it sunk in. He was like, "Yay, I'm so happy for you."
Well, I'm sure it was bittersweet on some level. You know, like his victory is a reflection on Uriah's own failures in a way, but at the same time, his Dillashaw's victory is a victory for Uriah too, because it validates everything that they've been doing over there.
Good.
Not
good.
just Dillashaw, but all of them.
Yeah, no shit. Team Alpha Male.
So, Kev, what was the biggest takeaway from you from this fight? Do you think that they set up a rematch immediately? Does that need to happen, or do we need to see something else happen?
Yeah, Burrell gets a rematch, period. He's defended the belt too many times. He gets a rematch.
Huh. Brandon?
Yeah, he gets a rematch, and apparently they're already Burrell's camp is already pushing for it to happen in Brazil. Did you guys see where Marlon Sandro, who is one of Burrell's teammates, they came out blasting the UFC and saying that they pushed Burrell into the title fight too fast. They made him fight and all this stuff.
Ooh.
So they're, yeah, you guys didn't see that.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay.
I saw it. Some of us pay attention here. But no, I thought that was an interesting climb to put out because nothing says gracious loser like, see you in Brazil, dick.
Yeah.
And
maybe you'll get held up at you get carjacked too.
Shit. Shh, let's make sure that we're not offending our Brazilian fans here. Kevin and I may one day like to go train down there, and we're fans of Brazil. Brazil.
Well, maybe just cut that part out there.
Brazil, where they never.
I ain't trying to offend anybody either.
Yeah, no. But the funny part to me is, I looked at that. I said, for Burrell, for somebody who hasn't lost in that like 8-9 year span, of course it's going to be tough, and of course it's going to look weird when he looks slower than somebody for the first time. And you could say it was an off night, but it just looked like he was outclassed. And it looks like some people were even saying he is not guaranteed an immediate rematch, mainly being Dwayne Bang Ludwig, who's saying they're not really interested in a rematch just to start. They might want to have TJ fight somebody else to begin.
I don't think he earned the immediate rematch. I don't like the immediate rematch anyway, ever. I don't ever like that. I just don't think it does. Yeah, I hate it.
Okay. Can I ask you what your thoughts are between John Jones and Alexander Gustafsson? Do you think that's an immediate rematch case?
No, not immediate. Talking about on this next one.
Controversial
this coming fight.
McCaghren.
No, I don't think it's ever an immediate rematch. Like, give somebody else a shot. You got your chance. It's time for somebody else to move up. It keeps the division interesting too.
And I don't disagree with that.
Guys.
I don't disagree with that normally, but I would say in the cases where you could say that the champ was beaten, arguably, or at least questionably, those are kind of those, I would rather see those rematches immediately.
It just always, when they do an immediate rematch, it always reeks to me of the guy the promotion wanted to win didn't win. Let's try again.
That's fair. Fair point.
I guess you could say that, but to me, it also says
feels gross.
Nah, I guess you could say that. For me, it says keeping the sport alive, because the thing that I like about MMA as opposed to boxing is I tend to see the fights I want to see quicker. In boxing, it's nothing but a dick tease of like, nah, we'll get to it. And then you see it way past the time that you really wanted to see it. So that's the hardest part. Not to say that MMA doesn't do that, but I think that's one thing. So let's go ahead and stop there. I think that's a great discussion for Burrell and TJ, and congratulations to him. That was like I said this, and I really feel it. It was you have nothing to do with it, Kevin. It was a validation for the $44 I spent on this pay-per-view was watching that performance.
Agreed.
Yes,
beautiful.
100%.
Predicted it.
And super inspiring too, man. Like, for me, it was one of the most inspiring like MMA moments I've seen in a long time.
Brandon, I'm going to stop right here just because I want to ask Kevin. Kevin, what do you feel you contributed to that, other than getting 50%?
I believed in him.
Correct.
Period.
You believed in him?
Sometimes that's all it takes, Raph. It's just about people believing in you.
Great. Now, since you believed in him, tell me about believing in Hendo.
Oh, fuck, that was hard to watch. This isn't even going to be a fun fight to talk about. Like, it was one of those moments where I thought Dan Hendo probably should have retired 3 fights ago, and that reminded me why. It was a different league. It I honestly, let me ask you guys this, and I'm going to put this back at you. It felt like Daniel Cormier put his foot on the gas and then took it off the gas just to let him survive a round.
Kind of.
You disagree. You thought Daniel Cormier fought his hardest at any point?
No. I'll say
he never
this.
looked like he got above 20.
Relax, Kev. I'll say, I think the thing that really kept Hendo alive for the most part of that was a little bit less finesse in the jiu-jitsu department. Not to say that DC doesn't know those options, and I felt like he was giving him some like crowd back in, like, hey man, you can get back into this fight a little bit, just out of respect. But for the most part, he had 20,000 options he could have been doing, and waited for the third round to get in a rear naked choke, which was already there plenty of times as well, among other things. But I mean, he was really in side control for the most of that fight.
Yeah.
And plenty of options. There were no less than 9 Kimuras that showed up.
Yeah, I hear that. You're just underlining my point.
I'm basically saying this, Kevin. He did have the option. I don't know that he knew to finesse some of them, because I think he actually legitimately lost half of those submissions.
I don't think he was taking it easy.
Brandon?
Yeah, I was going to say, Brandon, tie break this.
No, I don't think he was taking it easy. I don't think he was interested in submitting him. I think he submitted him out of boredom. I think it looked like he just wanted. I mean, you know, he waited until Hendo had nothing left to offer, and then that made the choke easy. And when was the last time you saw Henderson get put to sleep, or unconscious?
Never.
I don't think we've ever seen him asleep.
We've seen him
saw
tap
Silva
to Silva.
Tapped him with a rear naked, right?
Correct. Yep.
With the body triangle, but Nogueira caught him with an armbar back in Pride. Maybe is that right?
Yes, your history is very good. I'll say this. I like this.
Back in Pride.
I'll say this, and this is one of my friend's jokes. This goes out to Tim Gahn. And I responded. I said, hey, man, he went out like a G. He never tapped. And Timmy's response was, he was distracted by those kids on his lawn. Forgot to tap. I laughed uncontrollably to that. So Timmy Gahn, very good joke. I told him I would take that from him because it wasn't good enough to not use. What's next for Hendo? Brendan, do you feel that he's got more fight in him? Do you feel he's done?
Well, apparently he wants to keep going. So, I mean, let him fight. There's no way he's going to win that fight. I mean, clearly he's not going to be fighting for the title again. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. I don't think he should have been fighting that high up the ranks now. But, if he's comfortable with, a little better than gatekeeper status, let him fight. I mean, he's still a good fighter. He's got an incredible skill set. He's just a little slow now.
A little slow now.
Okay.
Kev, I like that you say this as if I like that Kevin says this as if his wrestling's like the most amazing thing since sliced bread himself. Kevin's like, well,
I'm saying he was a touch beyond a little slow. He looked. You could. I mean, if you watch the corner conversations, he finished that first round, and they were like, "We know you're tired. We know you're tired." It's like, why is that a concession statement? Like, is that what they have to bowl through? It just he looked tired.
Kev,
well, he was
when you
carrying
get older,
Daniel Cormier.
Yeah, people do get tired as they get older. Number one, number two.
I hear him.
Cormier's wrestling is not what I would call basic.
I wouldn't call it basic either, but I'm also not fighting in contention at the 180, like one of the toughest weights, 205. Obviously, I'm not fighting at one of the toughest weights in the UFC. I mean,
and you never will with that attitude, Kevin.
I don't think it would have mattered who was underneath Cormier right there. Cormier was intention was to put Henderson on the ground and to ride him and crack him with his fists. And he had perfect positioning throughout the fight. He picked him up like Andre the Giant. He picked him up like Bane, like he was going to
No. Oh, yeah, no. There was definitely a Bane moment, but I called it, and we have video of it on the Verbal Tap Cast Instagram. Basically, at one point, Cormier stole the F5, or the attitude adjustment, from John Cena. We have video evidence of it. Please go on and look at that. I do have one question to ask you, Brandon. You said that anybody under that pressure. Let me put in anybody there. What about John Jones under that pressure?
in that situation that Henderson found himself in, on the bottom of side control and the bottom of turtle with Cormier scrambling, I shouldn't say scrambling, but moving around him, changing positions, yeah, Jones is in bad trouble right there.
Do you think that's the way that fight would go?
No, not necessarily, because it's going to be hard to get in. It's going to be a lot harder to get inside on John Jones than it was on Henderson. With Henderson, you know the strike that's coming. You know what's coming. It's the right hand, right? And it's going to be the only other thing you're really going to see is maybe that little left inside leg kick to set up the right hand. With John Jones, you have no idea, and you got an extra probably 6 inches or more of reach to deal with to get in there before you can put him on the ground. Yeah. So that's a different fight.
Brandon, did you get the feeling that Daniel Cormier might want to fight John Jones?
I was felt that way to me. I know it wasn't explicitly said, but it did feel that way. Yeah,
it's a hunch. It's obviously a hunch because none of us could say for sure. But I feel like
Kevin and I definitely had a good laugh when on the Fox Sports Quan recap show, Daniel Cormier came out and basically Chael was challenging DC to do an impression of him calling out John Jones. And DC kind of obliged, and he did it. And at the end of it, Chael Sonnen gave him a B for effort. I thought that was one of the more funny. Go for it.
Your hashtag, the Fox Sports One, I laughed out loud every time I saw it. I just thought I should let you know.
I appreciate that. I will tell you this. We were the first people to hashtag Fox Sports One. It is on Twitter. It is, you cannot not take credit for that if you're us. Like, we are the people who fucking put that out there first. So fuck everybody else.
I didn't know it was a thing. So.
Oh, it's us, and it's real. It's real. Kev, you mentioned having a little bit of disappointment in Jake Ellenberger.
It wasn't like Ellenberger lost the fight. It wasn't like he just lost the fight. He got the shit kicked out of him. Lawler was in charge of that fight from start to finish, and that's hard to see. It's just I thought Ellenberger was going to be a little bit more of an opponent for him, and it was bad. It was a beating.
It was rough to watch. Do you feel that Robbie Lawler would have had a different night had he been fighting Hendricks again, Brandon?
That's Hendricks' fight. The first time I thought Lawler gave him more than he wanted. Lawler destroyed Ellenberger as predicted. Just so I point that out. And for my money, I think Lawler's the better fighter than Hendricks. So I would take him in a rematch with Hendricks, actually.
All right. I'd like to see that fight happen. I'm going to go ahead and skip Takia, and we're going to go to James Krause and Jamie Varner because of its factor. I was actually talking with Brandon online about this. Brandon, tell me what you told me then when you reacted to that freak accident that really brought the end of that first round to a close.
I don't remember what I said, but
okay.
It grows like I felt really bad. I wanted to weep for him. I wanted to throw in the towel for him, man. It was terrible.
He did say, he was like, I don't know if people know this, but I tapped out for him at home. I don't know if that counts, but I thought the thing that you said was very complimentary of Jamie Varner, which was, that was a tough thing to do, and he was a man for finishing that round.
Dude, yeah, he's all man. But everybody knew that about Varner coming in. I don't think anybody was surprised that he pushed through that.
Kev,
other than the fact that a man can push through that.
Sure, and I mean, that's fucking tough to do. Kev, you didn't predict this, but
no,
you did get it right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See, this needs to be thrown out. This doesn't feel like
shut the fuck up, Brandon. It stays.
It doesn't feel okay.
To be very fair, I do have a check mark next to Kevin's name on that, so I do have to go with it. But Kev, what was your reaction when you saw that foot go? And here's the thing. Yes, he did. He Ric Flair wooed for himself. What would you have done in that situation?
Well, first of all, I mean, a little ankle injury isn't going to stop me. I would have just buckled. I would have used it like a lasso and whipped it at him. That would have been my big I probably would have been on the ground crying. I don't know. I mean, I would have for sure been screaming for a parent and some sort of medical aid.
I love
Just like,
I would've
shoot
been-
me up.
I would have
My
been down
main-
like Nancy Kerrigan. You remember that? Why? Why?
the joke I put
Screaming
out there to
why.
people was, I said, I think my number one option would have been, okay, pull guard. Oh shit, I can't do anything from guard. I'm getting punched.
guard.
Shit. Okay, get back up. Nope, that's a bad choice. I'm getting punched. What do I
Can't
do?
get back up.
Go up against the cage. No, he's kicking me against the cage. This is a terrible choice. Why am I fair? So that takes
would've
care of
been
our
my-
main.
That would have been my reaction. Why am I here? Just bitter weeping and moaning and gnashing and wailing.
I do have to
I
ask this.
dominated Eddie. He's just screaming it into the cage. as he's getting hit.
Guys, on the lower cards, on the preliminary cards, what did you see that really surprised you? I'm going to start with you, Brandon. I'm a little weirded out because with Tony, I was hoping for a submission, but I got a TKO. Tell me about that.
Did I call that Marsh attempt, though? Come on.
You did. And I was,
Come on, thank you.
man, when I saw that happening, I jumped out of my seat. I was like, oh shit, he's called it.
Yeah, dude, he slid right into it. The part that surprised me was that Kakuno got out. He survived it. And you see, Tony had it fully locked in, just chose to move on. I thought that was a really a really mature jiu-jitsu decision, not to burn himself up. He knew he still had the advantage on the feet, and so he let him off the hook and finished him up with the knockout. That was an awesome fight. Of course, I had some ties to it, but I was super excited about that one.
Kev, and answer this for me. I don't know have you seen Tony Ferguson's ears?
No. I've
Okay.
seen them in their picture, and they're robust.
Okay, if you look at them though, they do look like they're fake props.
Yeah.
Like his cauliflower ear is real and for serious.
Legit.
Yeah, no one's going to question his grappling ability. I believe that brown belt will be coming to him sooner than later. Did you have a performance that you wanted to highlight on the preliminary card?
Holds it down. Holdsworth, baby. Don't let him on your back. I'm not that Camus probably let him on his back, but you do not want. And I don't think the casual observer understands what it's like to have a high-level black belt hanging on your back for the better part of a round. Like, that is exhausting
Misery.
shit.
Yep.
So I thought I loved his fight. He did exactly what he did in The Ultimate Fighter, which is good. That means he still understands and has a strategy he can impose, which is, I'm going to suck the goddamn life out of you.
Yeah.
And there it is.
Kev, I was really surprised, and I don't know if you were. Were you surprised when he shouted us out?
I was surprised when he started screaming for verbal tap and giving us the credit. I thought that was
so nice of him. And if you guys haven't
Sweet.
seen it yet,
was obviously sweet.
Instagram verbal tap cast, it was really cool. We just want to say to our pal Chris Holdsworth, that was really nice of you to shout us
Thanks,
out. We
man.
really appreciated it. That was really cool
Thanks,
of you.
man.
Let's say, and this was a really nice thing I did want to bring up. Mitch Clark's Darce.
Oh, that was
Raise your hand if
awesome.
you were impressed.
That was awesome. That was awesome. And he was getting destroyed leading up to that.
Mm-hmm.
Destroyed. Oh my God, he had it trapped up against the cage, so he couldn't walk his hips out. Was it Iakenta? That's who he fought. Was that right?
Mm-hmm.
Iakenta was trapped up against the cage, so he couldn't walk his hips away to escape the pressure. He got a nice long nap out of it. That was awesome. Awesome.
You got a nice long nap. People from the South talk better shit. Like, just
They do.
describing things, it sounds better.
It is polite still, but it's way more offensive.
Yeah.
Kev,
Man.
It
we
wasn't
got a
intended
nice.
to be offensive.
Oh no, because you're so southern and charming. We know.
That's right. I'm a gentleman. So, you know.
Kev, I got to ask you: have you seen wrestling like Vince Pichel's in a while?
No. And you know what I thought was funny is that I was like, I'm not impressed by Vince Pichel. I'm not.
Oh yeah,
He
you
just
definitely said that on air.
dominated the shit out of the fight. Big ground and pound. I hadn't seen his ground and pound before, really like that, at least.
Did you count how many suplexes there were in the match, Brandon?
No, I was gonna say
I did not count. I know it was upwards of 11.
lazy.
It was actually, I believe, 10. So, it was because the thing is, I don't know if he was trying to get an extra Subway sandwich, and on the 10th one he gets a free one, or I don't know. But on the 10th suplex, I just said, "Oh God, oof, that's enough suplexes for me. I can't even do one. Jesus Christ."
I don't think I understand the correlation on the joke between suplexes and Subway.
It's okay. It'll
Hard
take
to
3
tell.
years to get to Alabama. That's the way most jokes work. But
It's actually, I think it's a callback to when they had that stamp system. So this is actually
That part I get. I'm just curious why Subway. I don't know.
well, Subway is a proud sponsor of this podcast.
Eat
There you
fresh.
have it.
There you go. Any other fights worth mentioning on the card? Because I didn't see Cecilia versus my man Phillips. Oh fuck, that's what I did. I picked Phillips.
And why did you pick him, Kev?
Because we have the same
I think
last
I
name.
remember.
He looks like a model. Shut up.
And you think that you look like a model too. I would like to point out
We
one
look like
thing.
models.
You
That's
don't
the
look
other
like a
reason.
model in the least. Kev, did you know that one of you picked the fight of the night?
Who was that?
Not you.
Shit.
Brandon.
Well, Dillashaw. Yeah,
I'm
that
just
was-
saying. Dillashaw Barao. So here's the thing. For those of you guys who didn't know the stakes of the fight, the winner is going to have a song made about them as composed and written by the loser. So, Kev, do you have any potential song lyrics that you have in mind? Because
I
you
was
really
pretty
should have been
confident
working on
I
it.
wasn't gonna. I really thought I was gonna win this. I
Well-
genuinely did. Even like to the point where we started this podcast, I forgot about the Cecilia pick. Brandon, do you have any like? I've been thinking about some plays on 10th Planet. And I think it's gonna go probably more of a hip hop vibe. Brandon, do you have
Okay.
any specific directions where you'd like the song
Like
to
you want me to
accredit?
play executive producer on this?
I mean, it's a glorification of you. So if you have notes, great.
I know for sure it's going to have the word "sexy" in it.
Oh, noted. Writing it down.
There probably needs to be something about utter domination.
Yeah.
Fantastic Heine would probably need to be in there.
Wow.
Okay.
Just thinking. I'm just thinking.
Rhymes with tiny, so we can do that.
Tiny, like your win percentage.
Oh, that was right off the top of his head. He's just a musical genius.
Stop writing it.
When you are writing this, though, it is going to be interesting to watch your process. We're probably going to have a behind-the-scenes video making of it too. So that'll be
Making the
great.
band,
Yeah.
making the stuck.
Well, don't worry. When we get all of the auto-tune that we need to correct Kevin's voice, I think it's going to be well documented. I would like to bring up one really important point, which was even though Kevin did accurately predict 50%, which was 6 out of 12, I did say on the podcast that he would lose one because of unsportsmanlike
Horseshit
conduct.
ruling
So
at the
you
time, and it's a
actually
horseshit ruling
are
now.
below 50% on your
That's a good
guessing
point.
average. So
That's a good point. And
That's not a good
you probably ought to. We ought to think about that Varner pick too. That one should be tossed out. He shouldn't get that one.
Oh, why not?
Not how it works, my
Okay.
friend. Especially since I predicted the greatest
4 out of
upset in
12.
UFC history.
Which then brings Kevin down to a correct percentage of 33.3%, which was
See,
about
that's
what he ran
more-
last time.
Yeah, that's about par for the course.
All right, well, it's good. Brandon, I want to say this. You're always fun to have on the show. We're glad that you had the time to basically go through all of the fights with us. We had a blast talking about them with you. I know Kevin, despite losing, really enjoyed competing against you. Is that not right, Kevin?
Fuck yourself and fuck everything about this goddamn game. No, yeah, it was great. Thanks. I really enjoyed. Congrats on your win.
Yay! Woo!
Shake hands. High five.
Brandon McCaghren. Nailed it. That's going to be...
I don't have anything to say. I just okay.
No, that's perfect. Just end it like that.
That'll be the big takeaway. Hey, 10th Planet in Decatur. So if you're one of 7 people traveling through Decatur this week, stop in and see Brandon's gym.
You be nice to
Find
him,
out
you
what's
dick.
going on.
Come on through.
Try.
Tell the Meow Mix plant. You'll love it.
That's all I got. Brandon, what's your Twitter handle? Say it, your Twitter handle.
Brandon_MC.
Yeah.
And then I'm on SoundCloud also. If you want to get some of my music, SoundCloud.com/Brandon_MC. See the consistency?
Yeah, you can hear that I Dominate Eddie that we played last week on the podcast, that he has, climbing the charts. You're like that thing you do for jiu-jitsu.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen.
The Wonders. The Oneaters.
The Brandon McCaghrens. That's what we call them. Raph Esparza, you outdid yourself tonight with your 1 minute review. That was 24 minutes and 38 seconds.
That was not how long that was. I think now you're lying.
But it was so great to have Josh Clark on to review it with us. I like hearing their interpretation, and their just gasp at your rather succinct reviews are always one of my highlights of the podcast. Part of our whole Dixieland series, we had Josh on, and then we had Brandon McCaghren. I'm nervous about this song business. I was really hoping he was going to have to do the singing.
Honestly, Kev, I've never wanted you to win more. And you let me down. You let me down so bad. And I did this podcast with you last week. I got off of doing this on the microphone. I walked over to somebody and I said, he better fucking win. And then you didn't. And I felt like a fool.
Yeah, we all did. Yeah. And it's time for the shout outs. That's it for us. Let's shout it out. I'll start. Andrew Correa's birthday, along with his return from Brazil, marked a really fun seminar, followed by cake, which is the best way to end any seminar. This was some good old
You could add cookies. Cake to any seminar, and it's a huge success.
It's the best. No, it was a lot of fun. Some really cool half-guard sweep techniques and just some different things we've been working. And he basically went to Brazil and was like, I'll just bring back everything I see that we don't do or do, and it's just been too long, whatever. It was awesome. Andrew, happy birthday from Verbal Tap. All of us here, the family, and that takes us to a lovely reminder to use bjjfinder.com, the world's premier jiu-jitsu site locator. Plug in your zip code, plug in your location. It'll take you to gyms near you. You can review them. It is Yelp for jiu-jitsu schools, people. It's huge. Use it. BJJ and MMA Academy out there in Chantilly, VA, where we're rolling like crazies. And Raph, that's going to do it for me here.
Speaking of shout-outs for BJJ Finder, we had somebody who didn't really know. His name is Cullery Lad, Steve Story. He's over in the UK, and while we were tweeting, he's like, oh, I don't have any gyms near me. I was like, where do you live? He goes, I live out in the UK. I was like, here you go. Oh, and by the way, here's BJJ Finder. Go here. He's like, oh, shit, I didn't know there were all these places to go train. I was like, not an excuse. Go train. I don't like hearing that.
You're welcome. Because he's Raph Esparza, your company's jiu-jitsu locator guy.
No, that's not how you're going to sing, is it?
No. I'm just
That's practicing. A terrible jingle. I want to give my first shout out to Valley Martial Arts Center.
VMACC. Wow. Little clap number with this one this week.
I want to give a shout out to my pal Hassan. Hassan is a really cool practitioner over with us. He's always asking really cool questions, and it was really funny. I guess the other day he was rolling, and he just left a camera there to record his roll, and he was going with one of our high-level jiu-jitsu and judo practitioners. And when you do that, you start one place and you end up about 19 other places.
Mm-hmm.
So cut to me grabbing the camera and being like, okay, let's follow you. You're over here now. And it was just a fun way where it was very nice to do that. So I would encourage everybody, if you ever want, I guess, filmed BJJ and you want to bring a camera, just hand it to me. I'll take care of it. But I love the fact that he does stuff like that because it always makes things really, really cool. So my thanks to Hassan for always helping out and being super cool about his help with jiu-jitsu. And you know what, Kev? Thanks to you. And guess what? On this Memorial Day, I think it would make a lot of sense to say thanks to who?
Tim Kennedy.
Yeah.
And the whole host of veteran fighters.
Yep.
And just veterans in general. I feel like good blanket statement. I got choked out by a Marine.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah,
that was really nice. Oh, but we do support the troops, and we want to say thank you guys, many of whom are fighters, but those who aren't fighters as well. Just thank you guys so much for all of your commitment to the country. We love it. We respect it. And we love that you guys are huge fans of the sport. We hope you guys continue, if you are in the sport, to basically dominate people, because it's always fun to support you guys when you're doing well. So our thanks to all of you guys.
They love to fight. They just can't get enough of it. Yep. It's amazing.
Just don't fight me and Kevin, or fight Kevin.
Please don't. Please. That's going to do it for us tonight here at Verbal Tap. I'm Kevin. Thanks for listening.
Good night and goodbye.